Konnichiwa. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Thank you for joining here and also online. My name is Paul Tonkes, and my colleague, she will be translating today. We are representing Core5 Vietnam, which is the industrial arm of Indochina. More about that later. And to save time in translation, I will be showing a short video introducing who we are and what we do. The QR code that should be here, I show at the end of my speech, is access to my presentation, the extended version, the video, and more.
皆様、こんにちは。ただいまご参加いただきました。インドチャイナカジマのホールと申します。こちらは通訳になります。本日、皆さん、それと Zoom 参加していただいる方もご参加ありがとうございます。本日、通訳のお時間短縮、完結するため、まずは弊社の紹介ビデオを見ていただきます。
Yeah, I hope that was a special introduction. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Starting with the development rollout of Core5 Vietnam, as seen in the movie. 8 projects, 700,000 square meters area almost, 7 in the north. And today I will be focusing on 3 projects, all located in the north, that are in Hai Phong, Quang Minh, and also Ninh. And their combined strength in terms of the strategic location, the project design, and of course also the full service operator that Core5 is. Furthermore, to go further now, I will also explain more about the Core5 factory approach.
ご覧になっていただきましてありがとうございます。現在のニュースでしていただきました。続きましては、弊社が現在ベトナムで開発しております全プロジェクト8件についてご紹介いたします。まずは北部でプロジェクト全部7件ありまして、南部が1件あります。で本日が北部の7件、主な3つのプロジェクトだけご紹介させていただきます。
Core5 Factory Village is where all the strengths of the project come together. As you can see, it's a terrace factory introvert setup with a spacious courtyard, and then the curving curtain walls that that provide the space for the mezzanine office and a lot of natural light in the office and also directly in the factory. We pay attention to the redesign, detailed landscaping, and of course health and comfort elements. This should be able to attract a lot of human resource and also retain, which is essential for the businesses. But beyond that, we also see this village more as a community. So don't interpret it literally as village. Community meaning the sharing and also combining of the supply chains, logistics, utilities, human resource, and knowledge in general, thereby creating symbiosis between the businesses, and the sharing should be more than just a wall in case of the expansion.
まずは公開のどんなものかというとご説明いたします。今朝のコンセプトとしまして、構造の村という意味です。構造の村がどんな意味かというと、工業団地の中の一部の構造が各の空間が並んでおります。コミュニティというのが、入居していただいているテナントが、それぞれの業者とかサービスを起用していただいて、コスト節減のみでという意味を表しています。で、画面の通り、公開構造の村の特徴としまして、広いの道路の見せした各のその2階、週2階オフィスなんですけれども、弓のような形で設計されてて、それで自然の光が事務所とワークショップに差し込みます。2度の認定済みの設計になっております。環境保護及び人間の健康には配慮しております。
First floor of the first factory village we're here in Haiphong, the largest port city in the north, where you can see all the elements incorporated, the curtain wall, the spacious loading yards, of course the canteen, the landscaping, solar panels indicating green design, but also contributing to the grid, health and comfort elements, and just in general, the core element.
では、今朝の DC 発のごルートになります。こちら全体の、イメージになります。で、室外の屋根付きの野席、食堂、緑地、フィットネス機器、ソーラーパネル、いろいろ設計ついております。こちら24時間の監視カメラも設置しており、管理事務所の会議室として予約も可能です。
So that was an introduction on the project design in general. Now zooming in on the 3 locations and and how strategic they are. Starting with Deep Sea in Haiphong, and then moving on to Indochina, where you can also see it close to 10-on-2 and near PSIP. And then further also back to Deep Sea, in very close to each other. And of course, these locations all have their strategic, all very strategic locations, and we'll introduce more about that next. And what the investors in general look for in all these locations is obviously good infrastructure, people, cost savings and incentives, localizing supply chain, and more in the foreground is of course ESG, and furthermore it's the services like healthcare and education on any level.
地図が全部各部での3つの主な案件を表しています。最初がハイファン DC から始めまして、それから本屋のメインループ工業団地、先ほど第2ファン工業団地と近い場所です。で続きましては、本人賞の本人のDC 第2工業団地になります。すべてこちらの三角形の形になりまして、はい、ハムでのお互いの工業団地、アクセスもとても便利です。立地が素敵な立地になっております。その他、3つともインフラ、労働力、サービスとも優れております。
So starting with DC, the first one, first factory village to hand over next year, May, June, and then moving on to the rest.
最初は DC ハイファン工業団地、構造の村をご紹介いたします。こちらは2023年の5月か6月に引き渡し予定です。
Core5 has 96,000 factory for lease in Deep Sea 2 in Haiphong. Deep Sea is a Belgian industrial park developer that has developed almost 3,500 hectares in Haiphong and Deep Sea. a pioneer in eco-industrial, and also located in economic zone Indochina, which offers obviously the tax incentives. The infrastructure and services that we've seen has developed are unparalleled and a very high standard. On top of that, they have a hybrid grid, which will provide benefits for the occupiers later. In general, ESG and symbiosis that DeepC is building, and surrounded by large OEM that are putting in their supply chain at tier 1, 2, and 3. As you also can see here, Megatron and Baypost are nearby. LG is in the neighborhood. Of course, only 2 hours drive to Hanoi, and very close to the China border, and next to one of the largest deep-sea ports of Vietnam. This provides the ideal conditions and a very high standard for us to build our factory police and all the OEM that create demand for the supply chain for factory police as well.
はい、地図のように DC ハイファンがもともとDC 工業団地ハイファンがもともとベルギーのデベロッパーによって開発されたプロジェクトです。現在弊社の構造の村の総面積が9万6000平方メートルになりまして、こちらリング各来の経済特区の中に招待しておりまして、ハイファンはとてもベトナムでは急速的に成長しているところで、素敵なロケーションもありますし、品の揃えも優れております。で、アクセスに関しては、ハノイのも約2時間、で、中国との国境とも近いし、で、この周りには、産業の ODM の企業もたくさん集まっています。
Yes. Then more detail on the specification of the factory village. I showed it only with Haiphong because all the other factory villages have sort of left the same specification. Starting with redesign, all factory villages have LEED certified design. So this 96,000 square meters is provided with clear ceiling heights of 8 to 9 meters, a very tricky slab that can load at least 2 tons, an open grid, in this case 40 by 9 meters. Sufficient energy that is also coming from a hybrid grid, so it is green powered, easy to get certificates on that. Grade level loading in most cases, except for one block, I get to that later. And of course, the firefighting is installed and fully certified according to the latest Vietnam standards, and that's what you can expect. The facade or the walls are basically bricks up to 2.4 meters and cladding, and the roof is LEED certified roof sheet that is insulated inside as well. We are very easy to customize in case of temperature control manufacturing, because that's the expertise and the team that's behind in the China Kajima.
こちらが DC ハイファンの構造の村の詳細のスペックになります。画面の通り、順次にご覧していただければと思います。すべてのハイファンだけじゃなくて、他の構造の村の経済設計が同じ設計になっております。全部リートの2層数2の設計になっておりまして、で、他の詳細として屋根の高さとか、ハイブリッドのエネルギーとか、あと床の耐荷重とか、画面の時をご覧になっていただけます。
Yeah, then about the layout, and each project will have a slide analysis there. So you can see quite large units, 3,600, 4,000, up to 5,000. The partitions are basically indicating the smallest units, but we can actually go up to one full block. So we have full blocks, 4 blocks here. 3 are grade level, and 1 is dock level. That's the blue one. This dock level loading is preferred by lots of European and American tenants, and we see they have a strong interest in Haiphong because they kind of familiar with the infrastructure as they see in Europe as well. And furthermore, the mix between EPE and non-EPE, the export processing enterprises, is possible here. Our design is very suitable to have them next to each other in the same compound. And that's actually software landing for these businesses. This is also the reason that the units are quite large, because EPE in general has a kind of large footprint. What we see now in the market is inquiries come in, it's 3 to 6 to 15 up to 30,000 square meters, and the big ones are more than ever.
こちらレイヤーになります。全部で4棟で、22区画に置かれております。一番小さいサイズが3600から4500、それで一番大きい全部カスタマイズすると最大23000ぐらいの区画設計できます。ポジションがオンディメンドです。 こちら、ミックス、失礼しました。PPE およびnon PPE ともミックス可能です。個人設計が、カスタマイズが簡単に実施できます。今、乗っている区画よりもっと広い区画が、ご希望されるお客様したら、真ん中の小さなのを外して、全部、カスタマイズとか面積へ変更できます。
This is the weather today in Haiphong. This is our plot under construction, still coming up. The view towards the deep sea port and also the plant of the campus of Vinfast Vietnam's first car maker.
こちら、昨日撮った写真になります。建設中の画像になります。一番上の右側は、港と方面と、あと、ベトナムの自動車メーカーのビンファンの方面になります。
Moving on to the second one in Indochina, IP. For me, a very interesting one because it's a very mature and unique situation in terms of the ecosystem here. It's close to Hanoi, obviously. It's close to the manufacturing hubs of Bắc, where it's the headquarters of Samsung, and also manufacturing hubs of Hanam, where there's more of an emphasis on agro-food processing. It's a very mature area, and as you can see, a lot of Japanese manufacturers are here. So we have Canon, Daikin, Kyocera, brother, Panasonic, and more. Canon was mentioned already. The brother and Hitachi are located in Kajima. It's a 10 minutes drive from here. It's a small plot, 9 hectares in a 200-hectare IP, but it's the last piece of the puzzle in this mature area, where there's almost no expansion, and all the businesses are mature and looking for expansion. And now more than ever, the lease is optional for sure. 10 years ago, the land price was maybe half now. And 10 years ago, there were no decent suppliers of ready-built factories. But that's totally different. So this is the short term. And in the long term, you can see this road here. We'll have a vast amount of new industrial complexes that are much, much larger and actually stand by itself, critical mass-wise. And Indochina is sitting perfectly well in the center of it to become one of the supply bases for the new supply of industrial in the next 10 years. And then one more thing is, I think the situation here in Indochina and this national road is not number 5 national road that goes from Hanoi back to Haiphong is unique as well. It's almost like one big industrial park, a ribbon with a perfect organic industrial symbiosis. About 150 kilometers of industrial symbiosis, which you cannot replicate anywhere else in Vietnam. But it's hard to see if you come to Haiphong first and then go to Indochina. But it's there. On top of that, of course, we are the exclusive vendor of this industrial park. And in this case, we want to have this our flagship in terms of ESG factory village design. So we will stand out and attract the crowd that way.
2番目のプロジェクトが福建省の民力工業構造の村になります。こちらはベトナムとも急速しているハノイ、ハイファン、大都市2つを持つ国土構成に沿った素敵なロケーションです。企業もたくさん集まっています。で、民力の2つのメリットがありまして、まずはこちら構造の裏がエコシステムを導入しておりまして、次がアクセス率、2つ目のメリットがそれ隣のバックに、あるいはその向こうの花、それを3つの3回ほどでのアクセスもとても便利です。で、周りもハイゾンへのアクセスもとても便利で約15分ぐらいで、周りには日系企業がたくさん集まっています。例とすれば、パノシックさん、ダイキンさん、キャナンさん、いろいろの日系企業が集まっております。で、当面では現在のレンタル構造の数が限られておりますけれども、人数が高いため、近い将来、新しい工業団地が開発の計画になっております。で、その上で、Core5は再利用性可能なエネルギー、排水の再利用などは、エコシステムを導入しておりまして、全部、ぜひ、弊社の本人の構造で ESG の交換プロジェクトを、ご興味持っていただければと思います。で、まずがハイファンのプロジェクト、次が運営の方へご検討していただければと思います。
Good on the layout, a lot of flexibility, really good circulation with 3 gates. The blue block in the middle is the most flexible and provides dock level loading as well. And also units that you can see starting at 2,200 and even be smaller, created in this midsection block. That's all I will say about it for now.
こちらが電力の分野の電力のレイヤーになります。全部で3棟がありまして、こっちの E のことは全部で入り口が3つあります。で全部3棟に分けられています。
That's an impression where you can also see the amenities, auxiliary buildings, canteen, etc. And of course, always also LEED certified.
もちろん入り口としまして、食堂とかいろいろついてあります。
Moving to Germany, back to in the neighborhood of Haiphong, closer to the border with China, one of the most progressive and proactive governments that offers a lot of transparency for the investors as well. We are located in Deep Sea 2 in Kunming, which is only maybe 15-20 minutes driving from Deep Sea 2 in Haiphong. It's also an economic zone, so there you have the tax incentive. It's also it's also under eco IP framework. It's even closer to the China border, and it's a new territory that's fastest growing in Vietnam. And it's one of the largest provinces in Vietnam. It's over the largest population. So in terms of human resources, this is also optimal. And again, I didn't mention that with me, but also here, this would also be an alternative if you're looking for cost savings, because the rent will be lower than high.
3つ目に移ります。こちら、ファミン省にある第二立志工業団地に所在しております。こちらもハイファンも近いし、中国との絵の沖合にもとても近いです。多分ハイファンでは50分にもかからないぐらいだと思います。こちらも経済特区に所在しておりまして、本人もベトナムでは急速的に経済が成長しているとして、労働力もとても豊富な場所です。
Quickly on the layout, units in line with the EP, the demand are larger units. The pink ones are also on dock level. The blue ones are what we call the villas in the factory village. These are two-story factories that can offer a lot more cost saving, especially interesting for the EMS and electronic equipment manufacturers that can do with lower ceilings and usually would be keen. And they're tapping into the supply chain because it's a huge cluster of electronic industry in Haiphong and Kunming at the moment, including automotive, but there is also attracting a lot of electronics automotive industry.
こちらが本人のレイヤーになります。全部で3棟ありまして、一番左の青部分がこちら2階建ての構造になります。こちらもハイブリッドの構造です。で一番上が中2階オーシャンな構造になります。でこちらも本人の方でも主な業種、職種としましたら、一番電子部品とかが一番企業が多いんですけれども、もちろん自動車製造とかもありますけれども、一番多いのが電子部品です。
And the view at sunset of the project in the future, and who doesn't want to work here?
こちらも全体的なイメージになります。
Then we move to the third strength, that's basically Core5 as an operator and developer, and that hopefully combined makes it very interesting for the occupiers. The ready-built factory and ready-built warehouse or factory and factory village and trade villages already introduced. These are standard. And for the long term, and our partners and our tenants who consider apartments, we are very keen and also have a lot of expertise in house to offer the build-to-suit solutions to offset costs, and especially considering the fundamentals of Vietnam, a lot of manufacturers and logistic operators are looking into long-term solutions as well.
こちらは弊社の製品と主なサービスになります。一番左から右まで順次にご覧になっていただけたと思います。PC の工場、PC の倉庫、それがお客さんのニーズに合わせてオーダーメイドの構造になります。弊社が全部すべてのプロジェクトがベトナムの長期的な発展と長期的なソリューションを設けております。で、詳細な額のサービスの詳細が画面の下の部分をご覧になっていただきます。
Yes, sir. That's fine. It's a delay. Yes, important. And so added to that, we offering, like most international developers, a full service package as well. That starts with your investment consulting, that takes you by the hand, that incubates you, that sets up your factory, and all this consulting is included, obviously. And afterwards in operation, we can support you here with secondary services that makes you able to focus on the setup of your production first. You can think about legal, accounting, finance, HR. And once you're operating, we continue with our B2B catalyst. So we look to explore solutions, to localize your supply chain, to source, to accelerate your business. And that's the kind of service that we intend to develop. Everything that you can expect from a hospitality development.
こちら、弊社のフルのパッケージをご紹介いたします。お客様がベトナムのマーケットの調査から、稼働前、業界の申請前、申請後、稼働前、稼働後の人の通り、サービスをコンサルティングをさせていただきます。例えば、専門知識の法的のコンサルティングとか、会計、税金、いろんなコンサルティングをさせていただきます。お客様と一緒に長期的に事業を実施させていただければと思います。
So we take you by the hand from step 1 to step 9, give you the consulting advice on design and utilities, set up your company and your investment certificates, consult you and take you by the hand on the fit out, firefighting, environmental impact, etc., and get your factory up and running and commissions in as short as possible, which is a benefit for both of us.
これが多分他のIT とも同じ流れ、共通の流れになりますけれども、投資の計画を立案してから、土地の選定、業界の申請、稼働の準備、一通りの流れになるかと思います。
Once you're open, then we provide more services, of course, with facility management, transport services, security also, and canteen services, and catalyst and business-to-business services, which help you to eventually scale up your business at the rise, either already built or larger and 20,000 can be able to suit. We have the expansion land available. We partner with you, we stay with you, we can trust each other.
開業した後の他のサービスおよび各のサービスの業者を全部すべて認定するの業者と連携してお客様の円滑な事業を実施運営できるようにサポートをさせていただきます。工具の設計とか、人材の募集、各のサプライチェーンの調達、セキュリティ、セキュリティ、あと交通、いろいろすべてお客さんと常にお客さんの安定的なビジネスの事業展開できるようにサポートをさせていただきます。
So the takeaway here is the combined strengths of the factory villages result also in 3 key benefits for our partners, for our occupiers. And they can break down in acceleration and incubation that we support and that you can expect to scale your business right. And of course, cost savings in terms of utility sharing and setup, and shorter setup. And of course, also the ESG requirements and decarbonization of the supply chain is something that we as developers can play a big part, and it results also in cost savings.
こちら本日のご例のおさらいになります。サポーターと一緒にパートナーになっていただくことで、3つのメリットがあるということ、必ずバラエティになります。すみません、ちょっとお時間になりましたので、通訳の文をちょっとカットさせていただきます。
That's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Arigatou gozaimasu. My colleague Meng, she's did a great job in translating. You can reach out to her. She is still in Japan until end of this year, and then moving back to Vietnam after 13 years living here.
ご清聴ありがとうございました。弊社の日本担当の今までご不明点がありましたら、今までご連絡していただければと思います。今は年内まで日本にいますけれども、年明け帰国して弊社の入社することになります。よろしくお願いします。